I'm sure everyone here would like to learn more about and explore deeper into insights of of our speakers for today. So we have set up a conversation with them where they'll talk about their works and ideas. This session is going to be moderated by our own team member, Yashoda Doshi. Let me just give you a brief about Yashoda. She holds an architecture degree from BN College of Architecture, Pune, and has worked and trained with some of the best architects in India, such as B.V. Doshi and Christopher Benninger over the last 23 years. She has also worked with Habitat at Territoire Conseil in Paris, I hope I pronounced it correctly, on urban renewal and community planning projects. She has had a varied experience of working on campus design, residential design, educational institutes, and interior design projects based in India, France, and Bhutan. Currently, as an associate with Anupama Kundu Architects, Yashoda has been working on architecture, urban design, and research projects in India. She has been a visiting faculty with various schools of architecture in Pune from 2008 to 2016. Her interests lie in sustainability, urban studies, traditional building technologies, music, and theatre. Before we start with our discussion session, we would like to felicitate both the speakers for being here today and sharing their journeys with us. I would request Jayan Joshi sir to please come up on the stage and give the mementos to our speakers. Yes, thank you, Jayan sir.
Thank you, both of you. And I'm, I've never asked anybody any question ever after they presented their work. So this is also for the first time for me. So I'm going to ask you some very easy things, actually. But I want to start with this quote I recently read a few weeks back. It's written by James Baldwin. He's an American writer. And he says, talent is insignificant. I know a lot of talented ruins. Beyond talent lie all the usual words, discipline, love, luck, but most of all, endurance. And I think in both of your projects that you presented today, I could see a lot of endurance and perseverance towards the field of, you're both very passionate, so thank you for that. I want to start with a question because I think all practices are young. I think the youngest architect we all knew was B.V. Doshi, and Girish sir is the youngest practice. So I don't believe in this young and old practices, but there are certain things of time that come into consideration, the challenges that come with time. And these days, like you see a lot of architects graduating immediately and they start practicing, they start working without getting mentored or anything. And there is also this added factor now of AI. So what do you think are the challenges that you both are facing in your practices?
I don't think so. I have any such challenge in the practice because as long as you are a child at heart, courage follows, and you just have to be child till you die, and the solutions, they just flow. Yeah. Challenges are, dealing with the clients. What challenge?
Yeah, so this idea of working before you have your own practice, as you said, with a lot of young architects, is that the social media portrays an image that you can start early and you can create wonders, but it is very important. I think Avinash is here, who has worked for 10 years with Mohe sir, and you can see what a master can bring to in sharpening your skills and giving you a direction and setting in like a good school of thought. your practice. So I think work is working with a senior architect, or traveling for a few years and experiencing few different practices is very essential before you begin your own practice. Yeah.
Thank you. I want to ask you about your firm name. You've called it Fractal Chaos. So is there a story behind it? How did it come about?
So it's because of Khushru. So I was like, he's like, take your time to name your firm. And I took my time and it was still going on my head. And so he said, what is dear to you? And you write it down. And so in that pause period when I was cycling, I was fascinated by nature and the geometry that you observe in nature. And so as a child, I used to always I ask questions to my dad. Dad, हे युनिवर्स तर आहे पण युनिवर्सला कोणी क्रिएट केलेलं आहे. And so this fractal chaos is that it's a rule of the universe, is that everything appears to be random, but there is order in everything. And maybe that was enough to just name this firm. Yeah.
You showed these houses, like there are two distinct types of residences that you have done. One is farmhouses, like second homes, and one are these urban houses. But you called, in both cases, you said that house as a community and house as a neighborhood sort of a space. So is that a conscious decision that it comes to your mind while designing? Is it a conscious...
Yeah, and for farmhouses and weekend homes, you have a lot of liberties, with space, and the idea there is to have an interaction and a dialogue with your context. With urban houses, the challenge is you either have neighborhoods, you have tight neighborhood plots that are kind of blocked on either two or three sides. So the only way you can connect to the parts of the house is either by having some courts or garden pockets. So yes, unless you bring in a little bit of unbuilt spaces, or unless you get in a little of green spaces and the connect of the house with itself and the exteriors, I think then it doesn't really come across as a completed home. Yeah. So it's partly intentional and it's partly client's requirements.
So you, in your material palette that you presented just now, it's very traditional materials, but you're doing very contemporary designs with it. So what was your inspiration? Like, how did you begin? Like, when you began your practice, what was the thing that got you going?
Yeah, the choice of materials has always been. I've always been attracted to very original, nature-oriented, or you couldn't say material in its purest form. So the essence of that, we try and avoid a lot of cladding. I mean, we tend to do some of it nowadays. So that is one part of it. What happens with construction techniques is while you're running a practice. With certain clients, there is a need of having clean spaces, pure geometries, and the speed at which they expect a project to be completed. So, trying to balance both worlds, I think, yeah.
You showed in the beginning, Rajlakshmi, your work with the waste pickers and Swachh in Pune. There was some time ago, we were having discussion and you said something about NGOs and your challenges of working on these type of projects. So can you talk more about it a little bit?
I think there is a need to connect the loops, is that even if you are providing solutions for the issues that you're seeing around, it's not enough to just say, okay, design kar diya, and it looks nice, it looks nice in proposals when you're getting funding. But then my insistence, like even when we did the push carts, my insistence was, we should have these mechanical repair centers in different locations of Pune. So waste pickers could go and repair their carts, and a maintenance schedule has to be maintained. So yeah, and some values didn't match. So then I said like, okay, now I wouldn't be working for NGOs anymore.
No, but was it like that you had come up with these loops, like you
Yeah,
had come up with the schedules and
yeah.
they didn't follow that?
No, in the sense, I felt that it's not, I mean, it has to work, right? It has to sustain. It's just not enough to design an object, and it also has a life. So you need to consider it, at least for 20 years or 30 years down the line. वैसे.
So both of you are working in urban setting, like you're working in Belgaum, you're working in Pune. Pune is now grown beyond like recognition. I don't know about Belgaum, but I'm sure it is also happening the same thing, like the way our cities are growing. So when you're designing as an architect in the city, in the setting like this, do you think about a master plan or like an urban environment around it, the context of it? Like, do you think that there should have been this here, that here, and like, the school, especially if you're doing in an urban setting, that there are amenities missing, infrastructure missing. So do you?
So with the public buildings, there is, in my case, that has happened so that there is a chance that as an architect you try and get a year to listen to. Like if you try and tell them, let's maintain setbacks, let's give a green foreground, let's leave some space for a landscape, and then you try and educate the clients. They have been willing to do that. But even with farmhouses, farmhouses is no argument in this case. But what happens with residences is, in both the Bangalore houses, actually we have kind of exploited the setbacks. The original designs were smaller than the proposals, but then clients being clients, they tend to explore every inch of the property, and then they want to cover up everything. So these challenges are there with residences nowadays, because the clients are getting demanding by the day. Yeah.
Because the clients are also seeing the social media posts, so they are also doing that. But you, Rajlakshmi, you.
So in the office, apart from working on regular projects, we also want to work on projects which are, or volunteer or create a project of one's own. So then we are planning to make a master plan for the Tekdi. Because of this Paud Bhalbharti road, is that if they are, and we also had a meeting with the activists in the office, okay, that maybe we can make these smaller patches. But activists are always like, fighting for something. But then I think that if someone is proposing a development proposal on Tekdi, then someone should also propose a conservation proposal for Tekdi. So
Exactly.
then we are also like taking up these smaller issues whenever, however we get time.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. Maybe you can show us that some other time, It's very interesting. Thank you. I want to ask, like, when you have, what keeps you, like when you have like all of us, sometimes like there are 10 projects which come to us, then we are talking to all those people, but maybe one of them happens, or sometimes none happen. Like the architectural practice is it's very difficult also at the same time. So how do you deal with that, or do you have to deal with that also? That that is another question.
So yeah, you receive a setback for some, after 1 week it's fine.
That's great. No, but there are so many students here, so you should know. They would like to know, because it is the morale comes down, so.
So this happened to us with in our initial days. Clients came window shopping, and we've heard clients tell us ki Belgaum we also speak Marathi. So तुझ्याकडे काम नाही आहे तर आपलं design कर, this will give you more work. So we had a client who came to us with an image of the White House, with Corinthian columns and windows, and they said, do this house and you'll be renowned. I said, whether I'll be renowned or no, I don't want to be renowned for this house for sure. So yeah, initially, all young architects are going to come across this phase, but yeah, so we take some charity projects. The Muni Niwas, in fact, started 4 years ago, and we tried to pursue it. It had no funds, but it had a strong design essence. And every time the committee had some 50,000 rupees, they called up and said, "Aaj khadi anuya." And the next month they had steel. They said, "Centering, we'll call the centering team." So the design was a charity from our end. I spoke to a few people. We got someone gave us like 2 commodes. Someone gave us money for the paint. So that's how you try. So there are clients like this where you don't get to earn, but then you put your heart out, because then it'll unfold leaps in terms of design for yourself. And then there are clients who try and buy you, but then you have to draw some kind of yeah.
I think your the houses which you did for the waste pickers, I think those come like I felt they had this heart, like they were really joyous spaces, and I'm sure those people are very happy. But you stopped it at some point, or like is it still going on? Are you doing those kind of things?
Yeah, I mean, there were instances, where people used to run behind me in the basti because, I had encroached about 4 inch of space. It's actually, you require a very strong mindset to be working in a basti, and then there were people fighting for me, and then everything happened on that वो जो common water tap रहता है. So, but then I felt it's not about this. It's about maybe swadharma. First maybe through that, maybe even through a simple project, I could be fulfilling that dharma. So it's not about continuing that work somewhere else. Even in different projects that could be established is what I've learned. Yeah.
No, but it was great to see that, because we tend to keep these people who live in slums. We don't think that they are part of our cities, and that's the main problem with our cities also, that the people who are living here, most of them, we ignore, tend like in the master plan they are ignored, and then there is lack of housing also. And I think that there is something that B.V. Doshi sir also had mentioned in one of his interviews, that insecurity creates an inferiority complex, and that we are seeing in our cities also right now. So I think practices like yours will, hopefully something will come up and people will start designing for everybody.
I think if this opportunity comes again, I would be more mature or more understanding in understanding the true requirements of waste pickers. Because that time it was like, हाँ करना है, spontaneous, चलो अभी 2 महीने में घर बांधना है. It was so, but maybe as I said, now the processes have become even slower for me. So maybe if this opportunity comes, I will approach it in a different way.
So are you also involved in any similar projects like this? Like you call them charity projects. So are there more besides the?
Yeah, we in fact did a toilet block, which we pulled it out of the presentation the last month, because we thought we are covering too many projects. So we did a toilet block. We are also doing a small house for a person in the heart of the city who is a bookbinder. So that is under construction. It's a small plot of 9 feet by 100 feet. Yeah, it's a tiny strip of land. So yeah, we have few projects happening. So we balance with few fancy projects and few projects.
Actually, you didn't show your own office, which is very beautiful in the urban setting.
Yes,
which if you could speak more about your studio, like.
Oh well, that was a total stroke of luck. My old office, there used to be no network, and I was walking along the street on a phone call, and I saw a bunch of people kind of repairing an old house, and then I inquired about it, and they said someone wants to rent it out. It was a small hut that was falling apart. It is in this area called cantonment, just like Pune has a cantonment, Belgaum also has one, and that house is like 100 years old plus. I met the owner had, so it's in a camp context, and the owner had recently done up vitrified tiles, and he thought that his vitrified tiles would get in a good rental. So then I went and met him, and luckily the only person who had gone and approached him before me was a fisherman to make it into a go down for stocking the fish. So in contrast to him choosing an architect, it worked it worked for both of us. And then I told him that, you know, this vitrified tiles in a cantonment house is no way going to happen. He said, "Jo bhi karna hai karo, aapke kharche pe karo." So we kind of, he had recently renovated, but we re-renovated the house, brought it back to its old state with oxide floorings, and we went to the old market, got all old teak doors and windows. We refurbished the entire house to make it look like it was still in its original state. And yeah, it's a small, humble office.
Thank you. Rajalakshmi, you showed these two projects. One was at Ozar, I think, that you showed, but you said there was something about it that it didn't move ahead because of the construction detail. Can you tell us what was the construction detail?
They wanted to build a concrete slab, and the concrete used there was coming about 1 feet deep. And anyway, and we were like, you know, what is the strength, the compressive strength of the basalt stone that we were using? It was 50 mm thick, and it could comfortably take 10 or 15 tons of load. But they were persistent that no, we will have to use concrete beneath it. And it was unnecessary increasing costs, and we didn't believe in the usage of so much of concrete. And then we realized ki, yeah, so we don't compromise there.
That's great to hear, you know, because like in other case, somebody would have compromised and, you know, just done this. So
But they called us later on, like, okay, now we have finished the concrete slab, you know. And would you now continue the project? And I comfortably said that I'm sorry, I had a lot of mental stress dealing. I don't want to suffer more.
okay, so yeah, we have this thing of mental stress also, which our projects do give us. Like I would say, like you know, it happens maybe with age the stress reduces, but yeah, it starts with like education only. The stress starts coming. So how do you deal with that stress? You know, in practice especially. Like, do you do something other than architecture or something that keeps you happy and, you know, take, like you took a pause that you spoke about. So is there anything?
Well, I can't have a day without playing a game of squash or badminton, and I really look forward to that more than more than coming to office. So that has to start and end on time. Office can start and end at any time.
Just go on hikes, cycle around. Yeah, that's it.
So during your pause, you hiked and cycled around. That's superb. That's thanks. So I want to thank both of you. It's, is there anybody who wants to ask any questions to Rajlakshmi and?
So I just want to say that this was a great presentation and feel happy to be here. So since we were talking about project and, you know, the timeline which which was very important, so I just wanted to like know your thoughts on slow architecture. I mean, like what exactly it is, since we all believe that if we spend more time on that project, it keeps on changing. Like, I just wanted to know that where to stop, you know, where to draw that line that this is it. And if we go beyond that, obviously the mental stress and all of that we were talking about. So that's it.
So we have a few projects that are going slower than we imagined, but if the outcome is keeps changing for the good of the project, we indulge in it. But we have quit a few projects because it's taken so much longer than it should that we've lost the patience, because the client is also being very indecisive about what he wants. So time, if time is giving opportunity for improvement, then it's good to kind of indulge in it. Otherwise, I mean, it doesn't work.
I think
Yeah.
taking time for any good project where it is improving and the process is continuous, then it makes sense. But if it's just going on for the sake of it, yeah.
I think time and constraints are very important. So it's like that elastic band, you know, you need to understand till what point you can stretch that elastic band. So yeah.
My question is for sir about the Jain Community Center. You said you derived the form from swastika, and you said that the swastika is related to Jain community. So, what is the story behind like how the swastika symbol is like specifically related to Jain
Yeah,
community?
so in Jainism, there is a strong belief of attaining moksha, which is no reincarnation of the human body. What is believed in Jainism is that I'm no Jain scholar, but what little that I know is that uh, your karmas will lead you back into a rebirth, either in four forms, either humans, or either you will be born as an animal, or plants, or or you go back to hell. So these are the four directions. And what is interesting is the northeast, which is in the swastika, is also, according to Vastu, we just checked, it kind of replicated the Vastu corners. So the northeast in the design was required for a temple, and in the swastika also the northeast leads towards it leads towards liberation, and the southwest was for toilets, and we had that corner saved for the toilet blocks, which is for hell. So we kind of used it as a double analogy, and then yeah.
Now, they have requested this to be a last question, so. Oh, one more. Okay.
Okay, so since we all spoke about completion of project and all of that, so all the success stories and everything, so I just want to know, like, was there any failure you guys have faced in your practice, or like client have called back that this is not working properly or whatever, like.
Every
I
day.
don't think it's a failure, you should take it. It's an experience and that goes forward. I don't know, maybe they have separate.
It's a teaching. It's not really a failure. I mean, at that moment, it really feels like a failure. But when you walk away from it over a few days, you also, even if the client was wrong, I mean, the project is close to you, you tend to feel attached to it, and you tend to feel that maybe probably hopefully the outcome was something better. But then it is what it is.
Yeah, it's important to understand the opposite person's point of view and show empathy. And then, it's not a failure. So, yeah, just yesterday, we proposed a jali. That jali got built, and the client was like, "I don't want to look at this jali for the rest of my life." It was like, and I told the client, "Yeah, I should have followed my intuition. I agree with you." And so then we are giving her options, and maybe understanding the client's point of view, because you're also designing a home or a building for them. So empathy is very important.
I think we as architect also tend to be islands. We don't, like, I really liked when you showed that pushcart project that you said that you worked with physicists, mechanical engineers. And I think we need to, collaborate with persons of varied interests and professions to come to a point. It's just sometimes we get into our own minds and like we are into that zone, so that happens. I want to thank you both for this beautiful sharing with us, and hopefully in another few years we can see more new projects from you both. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, that was quite an session. So, thank you very much for this wonderful sharing of your experiences and processes. And it's really amazing to see how two young practices are working in their own ways to change the world, we can say. So thank you so much, Raj Lakshmi and Shreyas. It was really wonderful to witness your amazing journeys. I'm sure the young architects present here are surely inspired. And of course, thank you, Yashoda, for moderating the session so well, as always. I would also like to take up this opportunity to thank Architect Narendra Dingre, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for graciously accepting our invitation and sharing your valuable thoughts with us. Um, this event, me, Balkrishna Doshi, it's been a result of efforts of all the members of the team. And of course, an event like this is not possible without the team effort. This would have not been possible without the support of our capable event partners, Rohan Builders, Arihant Lights, Dream Homes, Interior Solutions, and Neves. Thank you so much for your unwavering support. Now we are approaching towards the end of this evening. We will conclude with a short video. It's taken from the documentary Doshi, the second chapter, made by Premajit and Bijoy Ramchandran.
As you grow old, I have done my practice for so many years. Now the time comes, when you have to surrender. And in that surrender, there are a lot of lessons that you have learned all along your life. You see that they are all separate for your own thought, but eventually they all become one. And I think that's what architecture, planning, or life is, a career is. But finally, it's all one. And to me, that is what is most exciting. Because in that one, there are all the lessons. And those lessons tell you that all the spaces, all the structures, all the things, that you want to see, you visited temples, you visited buildings, you visited palaces. But finally, when you want to ask questions, where is that architecture? It is in that spirit of becoming one. Wind, sun, shadows, light, courtyard, structures, forms, everything. But everything eventually has to be only one. And that one is connected to those who witness and those who come to see it. Then only it touches the heart of everyone. And that is the time true architecture happens. That true architecture is merging with everybody, everything around, and in silence telling that you and me are not different. You may be mobile, I may be static, but finally we are the same. The beauty of Sarkhej is several centuries have happened, but that building has not changed. But we feel almost new every time we come because it has a dialogue with our inner core. Are we really talking about a dialogue between that space and our child and our livelihood and our dreams? That's why the architecture doesn't become alive. Buildings become only alive when there is a dream. There is that hidden aspiration. There is that longing. And that longing, for something which we are searching. And look at the amount of diversity that is there in one panel. I mean, if you look at it, there are how many panels, but look, each panel, there are 4 maybe, but 4, 5, then every time you see something else. So there is a standard and there is a variation. There is a multiplication and there is an exception. Pause. Where are the pauses in our buildings? Do we pause at all? Do we disappear and reappear? So Sarkhej Rosa to me is a great lesson. 600 years they knew how to collect water, how to create a tank, how to create places for public and private, reverences and social structure, gathering and moving. And I think that is why this Rosa to me has always been very important. I have been seeing it for the last 60 years. I remember once I came here and it was a sunlight and it was the beginning of monsoon. And suddenly, and there was a water here, the water was there always full. So you could imagine the shadow, the reflections and the light and the sun shining and the movement of water. And suddenly the clouds came and then they burst and the sky became blue. And what was it like? But we were sitting there alone and watching this change. It's like another world. The static became dynamic. The stories became real. And you are actually an illusion. Strange. Are we really an illusion or are we permanent? Actually, what we think is ourselves, we are absolutely temporary. We don't even think about, nowadays we don't think about death, You go and send the fellow to the hospital inside and he goes to ICU and then he says, oh no, but he's no more there, finished. Okay, it's all gone. Can I go back to my work? I have a commitment. That's my life. There is no pain. There is no loss. There is no longing. And after 2 hours, we are back to our mobile and doing transactions globally. So, value for money, value for time, value for our sensitivity, value for our thinking, value for our future, value for our past. I think there is nothing left. So how can we expect architecture with value which is inner? How would you get this kind of odd space here and you get only hard soft light and hard light and then these columns in semi-light? The drama will not happen. This drama can only happen when you have a drawing and you have this dream and you are trying to create that dream through your design. And your hand is moving and you are visualizing these spaces and then you feel the sunlight coming. You feel shivered, you feel something and that says push the column there, and then you would place the column there. So that instinct, that sensitivity, like they play guitar, they play music, so they are connected to that string and that little senses on the tips. That doesn't happen. Why we can't do like this work? Do we have time? Boy. do we have... we don't think of time, but we also say we don't have time. How come? And what is always wonderful, we don't get connected because we don't have time to pause. આપણે રાહ નથી જોતા ને કોઈ બેસતા નથી અહીંયા 2 મિનિટ બેસીએ અહીંયા આરામથી જોઈએ દુનિયા વરસાદ છે વાદળા છે. So atmosphere is the key of architecture. How do we create an atmosphere which would take you into another mood, and that mood would create unexpected thoughts, and the thoughts would have to unravel stories which are buried deep inside. And in those stories you remember your childhood or your other episodes, and you become suddenly one. Thought, idea, story, memory, association, and experience. It's exactly like having a good meal and you have a burp. Huh? You have a good meal and you have a burp, and then you say, ah, what a wonderful meal I had. That's what it is. It's fantastic.
Thank you very much for being here today. With this, we end the session today. We hope to see you all tomorrow for the memorial lecture. Tomorrow being the birth anniversary of the master, B.V. Doshi. We will meet you here at 5:30 p.m. at the same venue. Thank you very much. Good night.